Captain Li Wujin stood on the bridge of the UES Phoenix and looked at the giant screen in front of him. The screen showed space around Earth, but it was not empty anymore. 10,000 alien ships floated in perfect rows like a deadly wall of metal and light. Each ship was bigger than anything humans had ever built, and they all had one purpose: to destroy. Earth Wujin was 40 years old, with short black hair and serious eyes. He had been fighting aliens for 15 years, ever since they first appeared in human space. His uniform was old and worn with patches from many battles, but his back was straight, and his voice was calm even now when everything seemed hopeless. The alien fleet belonged to 5 different species, and each one was more dangerous than the last. The Vorthak had ships made of crystal that could cut through steel like a knife through paper. Their weapons fired beams of pure light that could melt a mountain in seconds. The crystal ships were beautiful but deadly, like giant diamonds floating in space. The Nyx brought vessels that looked like liquid metal, always changing shape during battle. One moment a Nyx ship looked like a long snake, and the next it became a spider with many arms. Their hulls flowed like water, but were harder than steel, and their weapons could fire from any direction at any time. The Kalani had ships covered in living armor that could heal itself when damaged. The armor was actually alive, breathing and growing like a plant, but stronger than any metal humans knew. If you shot a hole in a Kalani ship, the hole would close in minutes as the living armor grew back together. The Drex flew in perfect formation with mathematical precision. Their ships were dark blue and moved, like dancers in space, always knowing exactly where each other would be. Their weapons fired pure energy that never missed, because their computers could calculate the perfect shot every time. Finally, the Euros had the biggest ships in the fleet. Each one was the size of a small city floating in space. They had enough firepower to crack a planet in half, and shields so strong that nothing could break through them. The Euros were the leaders of the Galactic Council, and they had never lost. A war inside the Phoenix. Wujin's crew worked at their stations even though they knew they were probably going to die. His second in command was Commander Park Minho, a thin man with quick hands who could fix any machine. Minho had grown up in the slums of Seoul, but his brain was so smart that he could understand alien technology better than the aliens themselves. Dr. Kim Hyejin was their science officer, a young woman with glasses who never stopped asking questions. She had studied alien technology for 5 years, not to copy it but to find its weak spots. Hyejin believed that every machine, no matter how perfect, had some kind of weakness. Lieutenant Choi Jae-won handled their weapon systems. He was quiet and serious with steady hands that never shook. Even in the worst battles, Jae-won could hit a target the size of a coin from 1,000 kilometers away, and he had never wasted a shot. Communications officer Yoon So-min was the youngest member of the crew, but she could speak 12 different alien languages. She had learned them by listening to alien radio signals for years until she could think like they did. So-min understood aliens better than most humans understood each other. Finally, there was pilot officer Kang Tae-hyun, who could fly the Phoenix through spaces that other pilots thought impossible. Tae-hyun had been born in space and had never lived on a planet. He could feel the movement of his ship like it was part of his own body. The Phoenix looked ordinary from the outside. It was smaller than most alien fighters, with a plain gray hull that showed scratches and dents from many battles. The ship was 100 meters long with simple weapons and basic shields. Anyone looking at it would think it was just another human warship ready to die bravely but uselessly. But inside the Phoenix there was something that no alien species had ever seen or imagined. Humans had always been different from other species. While aliens invented new technologies, humans were good at taking old ideas and making them better. They could look at any machine and find ways to improve it or use it differently. The secret was hidden deep in the ship's hull in a room that only the crew knew about. It was called the Harmony Drive, but it was not really a weapon in the normal sense. It was something much more dangerous. It was human creativity turned into technology. The Galactic Council sent their final message to Earth. Admiral Vextar of the Vorthak spoke with a voice like breaking glass that made humans feel cold inside. "Your species has 1 hour to surrender," he said. "We will destroy your planet, but we will let your people live as slaves. This is more kindness than you deserve." Wujin smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Tell them we do not want their kindness, he said to Soman. The alien fleet began moving into attack position. 10,000 ships against one. The odds were impossible, but Wu Jin had spent his whole life fighting impossible odds. That was what humans did. Best they found ways to win when winning should be impossible. The first group of alien ships moved forward. These were Vorthak crystal ships, beautiful and deadly. They came in perfect formation like they had practiced this attack 1,000 times. Their weapons began to glow with deadly light that could destroy the Phoenix in one shot. Wu Jin looked at his crew and saw no fear in their eyes. They knew they might die, but they also knew they had something the aliens did not have. They had the human ability to think differently, to find solutions where others saw only problems. The Harmony Drive hummed quietly in its hidden room, analyzing the alien ships, finding their patterns, discovering their weaknesses. Every alien technology was perfect, in its own way, but perfection made it predictable, and predictable things could be beaten. Wu Jin gave the order that would change everything. Fire. The Phoenix launched its first attack, but it was not energy beams or missiles. It was something completely unexpected, something that would show the aliens that humans were not like any other species they had ever fought. The battle for Earth had begun, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Phoenix fired something that no alien had ever seen before. Instead of energy beams or missiles, the human ship released a cloud of tiny metal particles that sparkled in the darkness of space. The particles were so small, they looked like glitter. Floating through the void, Commander Zilneth of the Vorthak crystal ships laughed when he saw the attack. His voice echoed through his crystal bridge like music played on broken glass. The humans are desperate, he told his crew. They are throwing dust at us like children. But Dr. Kim Hyejin had not been throwing dust randomly. She had spent months studying the way Vorthak crystal ships were built. The crystals were perfect and beautiful, but they had one weakness. They vibrated at a specific frequency. When touched by certain materials, the metal particles spread out in a wide cloud and began to touch the crystal hulls of the alien ships. At first, nothing happened, and the Vorthak crews continued to laugh. But then the particles began to resonate. They started to vibrate at exactly the right frequency to make the crystal hulls shake. Inside the Vorthak ships, alarms began to ring. The crystal hulls were vibrating so hard that the crews could not stand up. Equipment fell from shelves, and the beautiful crystal walls began to crack like ice in spring. Commander Zilneth stopped laughing as his ship shook around him. Impossible, he whispered. But the cracks in his hull were getting bigger. The resonance frequency was tearing his perfect crystal ship apart from the inside. One by one, the Vorthak ships began to break apart. The crystal hulls shattered into millions of pieces that sparkled as they floated away into space. In less than 10 minutes, 100 of the most beautiful ships in the galaxy had become clouds of glittering dust. The rest of the alien fleet watched in shock. They had expected the humans to fight bravely and die quickly, but instead they had done something impossible. They had destroyed an entire squadron of Vorthak ships without firing a single energy beam. Admiral Kexthu of the Nyx fleet could not believe what he had seen. His liquid metal ships were supposed to be the most adaptable in the galaxy. They could change shape during battle, and their hulls could flow like water to avoid damage. How did they do that? Kexthu asked his science officer. The humans have primitive technology. We have studied their weapons. They should not be able to harm our crystal allies. But the science officer had no answer. Nobody in the alien fleet understood what they had just witnessed. They knew about human weapons and human ships, but they had never seen human thinking in action aboard the Phoenix. Dr. Kim Hyejin was already studying the next group of enemies, Kirao. Scanners showed her everything about the Nyx ships, how their liquid metal hulls worked, what kind of energy they used to stay together, and most importantly, what would happen if that energy was disrupted. The liquid metal looks amazing, she told Captain Wu Jin, but it needs constant power to keep its shape. If we can interrupt that power flow, the ships will lose their ability to hold together. Commander Park Minho nodded as he worked at his engineering station. I can modify our electromagnetic pulse generator to match their power frequency. It will be like turning off the glue that holds them together. The second wave of alien ships attacked with fury. Admiral Kexthu led 200 Nyx ships in a complex assault pattern. They approached from all directions at once, their liquid metal hulls flowing and shifting like silver snakes in space. The Nick ships moved in ways that seemed impossible. They twisted and turned through space like living creatures, their hulls stretching and contracting, as they avoided the Phoenix and closed in for the kill pilot officer. Kang Tae-hyun showed why humans were considered the best pilots in the galaxy. He flew the Phoenix through patterns that looked random but were actually carefully planned. Each turn and twist brought them closer to the perfect position. The Nick ships tried to surround the Phoenix like hunters cornering their prey. Their liquid metal hulls flowed into new shapes, growing spikes and blades that could tear through armor. They were confident that their adaptability would overcome any human trick. But humans had learned something that aliens never understood. Adaptability was not just about changing shape, it was about changing the way you thought about problems. While the Nick ships changed their bodies, humans changed their minds. Now Hyejin called out. The Phoenix released an electromagnetic pulse, but it was not like any pulse the aliens had ever seen. This one was carefully tuned to match the exact frequency that the Nick ships used to control their liquid metal hulls. The effect was immediate and terrible. 200 Nick ships suddenly lost control of their hulls. The liquid metal that had been flowing in perfect patterns began to collapse and spread out. Randomly, ships that had looked like graceful sea creatures became puddles of silver metal, floating in space. Admiral Kexthu watched in horror as his ship began to lose its shape. The liquid metal hull was flowing away from the frame like water from a broken cup. He tried to send emergency power to the hull controls, but it was too late. Within minutes, 200 of the most advanced ships in the galaxy had dissolved into floating clouds of metallic liquid. The crews inside were safe in their protected cores, but their ships were gone, completely destroyed by a method they could not understand. The remaining alien fleets were now in panic. 3 of their most powerful squadrons had been destroyed in ways that made no sense to them. Their perfect technologies had been turned against them by a species they thought was primitive. Admiral Vextar of the Vorthak sent a desperate message to the other fleet commanders. How are they doing this? Our intelligence said humans were a young species, with simple weapons, but Admiral Corzin of the Drex had been watching the battles carefully. His mathematical mind was trying to understand the patterns. The humans are not using superior technology, he told the other commanders. They are using superior thinking. The aliens had spent thousands of years perfecting their technologies. Each species had developed systems that worked flawlessly in their intended purpose, but they had never learned to think like humans to find weaknesses in any system and exploit them. Communications officer Yoon Soman intercepted messages between the alien ships. She could hear the fear and confusion in their voices. They were talking about retreating, about asking for reinforcements, about anything except admitting that they had underestimated humanity. Captain Wu Jin listened to the alien transmissions and nodded. Good, he said. They are starting to doubt themselves. A confused enemy is a defeated enemy. But the real test was still coming. The remaining alien species would not make the same mistakes. The Drex were logical and would adapt their strategy. The Kalani had living ships that could learn from experience, and the massive Euros dreadnoughts had enough firepower to destroy the Phoenix, even if they had to sacrifice half their fleet to do it. The humans had won the first battles, but the war was far from over. Admiral Corzin of the Drex fleet had been studying the human attacks with his powerful mathematical mind. He was different from the other alien commanders because the Drex did not let emotions control their thinking. Everything they did was based on logic and careful calculation. The humans defeated our allies by exploiting specific weaknesses in their technology. Corzin told his officers, "We will not make the same mistake. We will attack with perfect coordination using mathematical precision that cannot be countered." The Drex ships were dark blue and moved through space like a school of fish, each one knowing exactly where the others would be. Their computers calculated millions of possibilities every second, ensuring that their formation was always perfect. But Admiral Corzin made one crucial error. He thought that perfect coordination was the answer to the human problem. He did not understand that humans were not trying to be perfect, they were trying to be unpredictable. Meanwhile, Admiral Vorshan of the Kalani was preparing her living ships for battle. The Kalani vessels were covered in organic armor that could think and adapt. The living armor could learn from each attack and develop new defenses against future threats. "My ships will watch how the humans attack," Vorshan said to her crew. The living armor will learn and adapt. We will become immune to their tricks. Finally, Supreme Admiral Thexval of the Euros prepared his massive dreadnoughts. Each ship was the size of a small city with enough weapons to destroy a moon. The Euros had never lost a battle because their ships were simply too big and too powerful to defeat. We will attack together, Thexval announced to all the alien fleets. 3,000 ships, moving as one. No matter what technology the humans have, they cannot stand against such overwhelming force. The 3 remaining alien species had decided to coordinate their attack. They would combine their strengths: the Drek's precision, the Kalani adaptability, and the Euros' overwhelming power. Nothing could survive such a coordinated assault, but they had just made the biggest mistake possible. They were going to work together, and humans knew exactly how to exploit cooperation between incompatible systems. Dr. Kim Hyejin watched the alien formations through the Phoenix scanners and smiled. "This is perfect," she told Captain Wu Jin. "They are trying to coordinate 3 completely different technologies." Commander Park Min-ho looked at the sensor readings and understood immediately. Each species uses different communication frequencies, different command protocols, different timing systems. When they try to work together, they create interference. The Harmony Drive began analyzing the approaching fleet, but this time it was not looking for weaknesses in individual technologies. It was looking for problems in how different systems tried to work together. The 3 alien fleets approached Earth in a complex formation. 1,000 Drek ships provided mathematical precision flying in perfect geometric patterns. 1,000 Kilani ships offered adaptive defense, their living armor ready to learn from any attack. 1,000 Euros dreadnoughts brought massive firepower enough to crack a planet lieutenant. Choi Jae-won watched his weapon systems as the Harmony Drive calculated thousands of variables. Communication delays between species, weapon charging times, shield rotation frequencies, armor adaptation rates. Everything that made each technology perfect alone became a potential weakness when forced to work with others. The aliens are talking to each other constantly. Communications Officer Yoon So-min reported, "They need to coordinate their different systems, so they are sending signals back and forth every second." Dr. Kim Hyejin had an idea that was so simple it was brilliant. What if we help them communicate better? What if we make their signals stronger and clearer? The other crew members looked at her in confusion. "Why would we want to help them?" she asked with a smile. "Because sometimes helping your enemy is the best way to defeat them." The Phoenix began broadcasting on multiple frequencies, but it was not trying to jam the alien communications. Instead, it was amplifying them, making the signals between the 3 fleets stronger and clearer than ever before. At first, the alien commanders were pleased. Their coordination became perfect with no delays or static. The Drek's mathematical systems could perfectly predict where the Kalani ships would move. The Kalani living armor could respond instantly to Drek's tactical suggestions. The massive Euros dreadnoughts could position themselves exactly where the other fleets needed them. But then something unexpected began to happen. The enhanced communication created feedback loops between the different alien technologies. Each system started trying to optimize the others according to its own logic. The Drek's computers began analyzing the Kalani living armor as if it were a mathematical equation. They sent suggestions for how the biological systems could be more efficient, more logical, more perfect. But living armor was not supposed to be logical. It was supposed to be adaptive. The Kalani armor started receiving mathematical commands that made no sense to its biological processes. It began to treat the Drek suggestions as foreign intrusions that needed to be fought off. The living armor started attacking the communication systems, trying to protect its ships from what it saw as a virus. Meanwhile, the massive Euros dreadnoughts were receiving positioning data from both the Drek's and Kalani systems, but the 2 sets of instructions contradicted each other. The mathematical precision of the Drek's conflicted with the biological adaptations of the Kalani. The Euros ships began moving erratically, trying to follow both sets of instructions at the same time. Their massive hulls started colliding with smaller vessels as they attempted impossible maneuvers. Within hours, the coordinated alien fleet was destroying itself. The Drex ships were firing on Kalani vessels because their computers calculated that the biological ships were malfunctioning. The Kalani armor was trying to consume Drex technology to protect itself from perceived attacks. The Euros dreadnoughts were using their tractor beams to push damaged ships away, thinking they were navigation hazards. This caused more collisions and more damage, which made the other systems react even more violently. Admiral Corzin watched in horror as his perfect mathematical formation fell apart. His logical mind could not understand how enhanced communication had led to such chaos. The equations no longer made sense. Admiral Warship felt her living ship shuddering as its armor tried to defend against threats that did not exist. Her biological systems were fighting a war against mathematics itself, and losing badly. Supreme Admiral Thexval saw his massive dreadnoughts spinning, out of control, their powerful weapons firing randomly as their targeting systems received contradictory information from their allies. Shut down all communications, Corzin ordered. But it was too late. The feedback loops had become self-sustaining. Each alien technology was now treating the others as malfunctions that needed to be corrected or destroyed. The Phoenix crew watched in amazement as 3,000 enemy ships turned their weapons on each other. The most powerful fleet in Galactic history was tearing itself apart because they had tried to work together. "This is incredible," Pilot Officer Kang Tae-hyun said. "They are more dangerous to each other than they are to us." Captain Woojin felt no joy watching the destruction. These were intelligent beings who had families and dreams, but they had come to destroy humanity. And sometimes the only way to save your people was to show your enemies the consequences of their choices. The alien fleet was learning a lesson that humans had known for centuries. Working together was not about forcing different systems to be the same. It was about finding ways for different strengths to support each other. But the aliens had never learned this lesson. They had built their technologies to be perfect in isolation, and perfection did not play well with others. As the alien ships continued to destroy each other, Captain Woojin made a decision that would change everything. "Set course for the command ship," he ordered. "It is time to show them a better way." The alien fleet was destroying itself, and there was nothing the commanders could do to stop it. Admiral Corzin of the Drex watched his beautiful mathematical formations collapse into chaos. His logical mind tried to calculate a solution, but the equations kept changing as more ships joined the friendly fire stop. "Firing on our allies," he ordered his fleet, but the Drex computers had decided that the Kalani ships were malfunctioning systems that needed to be shut down. The living armor on the biological ships was growing over Drex hulls, trying to heal what it saw as damage. Admiral Warship felt her command ship shaking as its living armor fought against invisible enemies. The biological systems were consuming energy at dangerous rates, trying to defend against mathematical attacks that existed only in computer code. Her ship was literally eating itself, trying to stay safe. "The Kalani living armor thinks we are a disease," she told her officers. "It is trying to cure us by changing our ship structure. But we are not sick, we are just different." Supreme Admiral Thexval had the biggest problem of all. His massive Euros dreadnoughts were the strongest ships in the fleet, but they were also the clumsiest. When they tried to follow contradictory navigation commands from their allies, they became floating disasters. A Euros dreadnought the size of a city crashed into a formation of Drex ships, trying to move to a position that both fleets had calculated as optimal. The collision destroyed 12 vessels instantly and sent debris flying through space like deadly rain communications. Officer Yoon Soman aboard the Phoenix listened to the alien transmissions with growing amazement. "They are begging each other to stop," she translated, "but their computers and biological systems are not listening anymore." The enhanced communication signals that the Phoenix had created were like a virus spreading through the alien fleet. Each system was trying to optimize the others, but their definitions of perfect were completely different. The Drex wanted everything to be logical and predictable. Their computers were sending mathematical corrections to the Kalani biological systems, trying to make them more efficient. But biological systems were supposed to be messy and adaptive, not clean and logical. The Kalani living armor wanted everything to be healthy and growing. It tried to improve the Drex crystal technology by making it more organic. The armor sent biological signals to the mathematical systems, trying to make them alive. The Euro's gravitational systems wanted everything to follow proper physics. Their massive ships generated gravity fields that interfered with both mathematical calculations and biological processes. They kept trying to correct what they saw as navigation errors. Dr. Kim Hyejin watched the chaos through her scanners and felt almost sorry for the aliens. They built perfect technologies, but they never learned how to make different kinds of perfect work together, she said. Commander Park Min-ho nodded as he monitored the system failures. It is like trying to run Drex software on Kalani hardware while using Euro's power supplies. Everything conflicts with everything else. The feedback loops were getting worse. By the minute, a Drex ship would fire on a Kalani vessel to correct what it saw as a system malfunction. The Kalani ship would respond by trying to heal the Drex vessel with living armor. The Euro ships would detect the armor growth as a threat and use their weapons to stop it. Lieutenant Choi Jae-won had stopped targeting enemy ships because they were doing a better job of destroying each other than any human weapons could. The aliens have turned their greatest strength into their greatest weakness, he observed. Pilot Officer Kang Tae-hyun flew the Phoenix through the chaos, avoiding debris from destroyed ships and stray shots from confused aliens. It is like flying through a storm made of angry computers and scared plants. He said, Captain. Woo-jin made a decision that surprised his crew. Set course for the alien command ship, he ordered. We are going to talk to them. The crew stared at him in shock. The alien command ship was a Euro super dreadnought called Eternal Dominion. It was 10 times the size of the Phoenix and protected by shields that could stop anything humans had ever built, Sir Commander Park Min-ho said carefully. That ship has enough firepower to destroy our entire planet. We cannot fight it directly. Woo-jin smiled. We are not going to fight it. We are going to do something much more dangerous. We are going to teach them. The Phoenix moved through the battle zone toward the massive alien command ship. Debris from destroyed vessels bounced off their hull and energy. Beams from confused aliens lit up space around them. But the little human ship kept flying toward the biggest target in the fleet. Supreme Admiral Thexval, aboard the Eternal Dominion, watched the Phoenix approach with confusion. The human ship was broadcasting on all frequencies, asking for permission to dock. They wanted to come aboard his ship to talk. After destroying half our fleet, they want to talk. Thexval rumbled to his officers. His deep voice echoed through the command center like distant thunder. The aliens had been fighting for so long that the idea of talking to enemies seemed strange, but Thexval was curious about these humans who had turned his perfect fleet into a disaster. He gave permission for the Phoenix to dock. Captain Woo-jin selected his away team carefully. He chose Dr. Kim Hyejin because she understood alien technology better than anyone. He chose Communications Officer Yoon So-min because she could speak to all the different species. And he chose himself because this conversation would determine the future of both humanity and the galaxy. The Phoenix docked with the Eternal Dominion through an airlock that was designed for much larger ships. The human vessel looked like a small boat next to an aircraft carrier, but size had never mattered to humans who had learned to think their way out of impossible situations. As they walked through the alien ship corridors, Woo-jin and his team were surrounded by guards from all 5 species, Vorthak, crystal beings that looked like living diamonds, Nyx shapeshifters that flowed like liquid metal, Kalani bioforms covered in living armor, Drex mathematicians with mechanical implants, and massive Euros giants who could crush a human with one hand. The aliens expected threats or demands for surrender, but what they were about to hear would change their understanding of warfare cooperation and what it meant to be strong. The meeting would take place in the Grand Council chamber where representatives from all the surviving alien fleets waited. They had perfect technologies and superior numbers, but they were about to learn that sometimes the most powerful weapon was not a better gun or stronger armor. Sometimes the most powerful weapon was a better idea. Humans had always been very good at having better ideas. The Grand Council chamber aboard the Eternal Dominion was enormous, with a ceiling so high it disappeared into shadows. The room could hold 1,000 beings, and right now, it was filled with representatives from all 5 alien species. They sat in groups according to their kind, each species keeping to itself. Captain Woo-jin walked into the chamber with Dr. Kim Hyejin and Communications Officer Yoon So-min beside him. They looked very small compared to the aliens around them, but they walked. With confidence, the three humans were surrounded by guards, but they showed no fear. Supreme Admiral Thexval sat on a throne made of dark metal that was carved with symbols from 1,000 conquered worlds. His voice was so deep it made the floor vibrate when he spoke. "You destroyed half our fleet with tricks and deception," he said. "Now you want to talk. What could you possibly say that would interest us?" Wu Jin looked around the chamber at all the alien faces. Some showed anger, others showed curiosity, but all showed confusion. They could not understand how three humans could stand before the most powerful beings in the galaxy without showing fear. "We came here to show you something important," Wu Jin said, his voice carrying clearly through the huge chamber. "We did not defeat your fleet because we are stronger than you. We defeated it because we understand something you have forgotten." Admiral Corzin of the Drex leaned forward, his mechanical implants glowing with curiosity. "And what is this great wisdom you think you possess?" Human Dr. Kim Hyojin stepped forward and activated a holographic projector. The display showed the recent battle with images of alien ships destroying each other. "Every one of your technologies is perfect," she said. "But perfection is your weakness, not your strength." The hologram showed how the Drex mathematical systems had tried to optimize the Kalani biological processes, how the living armor had attempted to heal the crystal ships, how the massive Euros vessels had created chaos while trying to follow contradictory orders. "You built your technologies in isolation," Kim continued. "Each species developed systems that worked perfectly for your own needs, but when you tried to work together, your perfect systems became incompatible." Commander Zilneth of the Vorthak spoke up, his crystal body ringing like bells. "You are saying our perfection made us weak? That makes no sense." Yoon. Soman began speaking in the Vorthak crystal language, then switched to Nyx fluid speech, then to Kalani biocommunication. She addressed each species in their own tongue, making them understand her words, not just hear them. "Your crystal technology is perfect for your people," she told the Vorthak. "The Nyx liquid metal is perfect for shape-changing. The Kalani living armor is perfect for adaptation. The Drex mathematics are perfect for precision. And Euros gravity control is perfect for power." But she continued, switching back to common language. "Perfection means you cannot change. And if you cannot change, you cannot work with others who are different." The alien representatives began talking among themselves in excited whispers. They had never heard anyone explain their technologies this way. Most species either feared alien technology or tried to copy it, but humans understood it better than they understood themselves. Admiral Vorshan of the Kalani spoke next, her living armor rippling with interest. "You are saying we should make our technologies less perfect?" "No," Kim replied. "We are saying you should make them more flexible. Perfect does not mean unchangeable. It means working well with everything around it." She activated another hologram showing human technology. "Human systems are not perfect," she explained. "They break down. They have flaws, they need constant repair. But they can be modified, improved, and adapted to work with anything." The hologram showed human ships with parts from dozens of different manufacturers. Human weapons that had been rebuilt and upgraded countless times. Human computers running software written by hundreds of different programmers. "We take the best ideas from everywhere." Wu Jin added, "We do not try to make perfect systems. We try to make systems that can become whatever we need them to be." Supreme Admiral Thexval was quiet for a long moment, his massive form thinking about what he had heard. Finally he spoke. "You are proposing that we learn your ways of thinking." "More than that," Yoon Soman said. "We are proposing that we learn from each other. You have knowledge we could never develop on our own. We have approaches you have never considered." She gestured to the different alien species. "Imagine what we could accomplish working together. Vorthak precision with human adaptability, Nyx flexibility with Drex logic, Kalani biology with Euros power." But Commander Zilneth was still suspicious. "After we came to destroy your world, you want to work with us. Why should we trust you?" Because Wujin said the alternative is what you just experienced. Your fleet tore itself apart trying to force perfect systems to work together. The same thing will happen every time you face an enemy who understands your weaknesses. He walked closer to the alien representatives, his voice growing stronger. The Galactic Council rules through fear and conformity. They demand that every species submit to the same systems, follow the same rules. But diversity makes us stronger. Not weaker. Kim activated a new hologram showing the galaxy. Look at what the Council has created, she said. Thousands of species all using the same technologies, following the same laws, thinking the same thoughts. There is no innovation, no growth, no progress. Now she showed images of human space. Small and chaotic but full of different ideas. Human colonies used Martian mining equipment with Earth computers and asteroid belt power systems. Everything worked together, despite being completely different. This is what cooperation really looks like, Kim explained. Not forcing everything to be the same, but finding ways for different things to support each other. Admiral Corzin ran calculations in his cybernetic brain. The mathematics are compelling, he said. If we combine our different strengths, instead of trying to make them identical, we could achieve exponential improvements. Admiral Vorshan felt her living armor responding positively to the idea. My biological systems are already trying to understand your human metabolism, she said. They want to learn how you think so they can better protect cooperative partnerships. Over the next several hours, something unprecedented happened in galactic history. The 5 alien species began sharing their deepest technological secrets not as masters, teaching slaves, but as partners exploring possibilities. The Vorthak explained how their crystal technology could be made flexible without losing its strength. The Nix demonstrated how their liquid metal could be used for healing and construction. Instead of just warfare, the Kalani offered to share their living armor for peaceful exploration. The Drex provided mathematical models that could optimize any system without destroying its uniqueness. The Euros revealed gravitational techniques that could revolutionize transportation and communication across the galaxy in return. The humans showed them the principles behind the Harmony Drive, not the technology itself, but the thinking that created it. The idea that problems were opportunities, the belief that working together meant celebrating differences, not erasing them. By the end of the discussion, Supreme Admiral Thexval made an announcement that would echo through history. The Galactic Council will not be pleased when they learn what happened here, he said. But perhaps it is time for the galaxy to learn a new way of thinking. The fleet that had come to destroy Earth was becoming something else entirely. They were becoming the first members of a new kind of alliance based on cooperation instead of domination. Diversity instead of conformity, strength through difference instead of strength through fear. And it all started because one small human ship had shown them that sometimes the best way to win a war was to help. Your enemies understand that they did not have to be enemies at all. 3 months after the battle at Earth, the galaxy was a different place. The news of what happened had spread from system to system, carried by traders and travelers who could barely believe the stories they heard. A human ship had defeated the entire Galactic Council fleet not through superior weapons but through superior ideas. On the planet, Keelan Admiral Vorshan stood before the Council of Living Ships. Her bio-armor rippled with excitement as she spoke to the massive organic vessels that served as her people's government. The humans taught us that perfection is not about being unchangeable, she reported. It is about being able to change when change is needed. The living ships pulsed with interest through their biological communication networks. They had existed for millions of years, growing and adapting, but always within the limits set by the Galactic Council. Now they were learning about possibilities they had never imagined on the crystal world of Vorth. Commander Zilneth presented his findings to the resonance chambers where his people made decisions through harmonic vibration. The human approach to problem-solving creates new frequencies of thought, he explained. His crystal body sang with complex harmonies as he shared the mathematical patterns of human creativity, the V.